AI. At the India AI Summit, Prime Minister Modi unveiled India's comprehensive MANAV Vision for artificial intelligence, outlining a human-centric framework for ethical, accountable and inclusive governance of artificial intelligence. Now, in his speech, the Indian Prime Minister called for the democratization of artificial intelligence. He slammed countries and companies who are treating AI as a strategic asset to be developed in confidence.
Ladies and gentlemen,
कुछ देश और कंपनियां मानती हैं कि एआई एक स्ट्रैटेजिक एसेट है, इसलिए इसे कॉन्फिडेंशियल तरीके से डेवलप किया जाना चाहिए। लेकिन भारत की सोच अलग है। हम मानते हैं कि एआई जैसी तकनीक तभी दुनिया के लिए लाभकारी होगी जब उसे शेयर किया जाएगा, जब कोड ओपन होंगे और शेयर किए जाएंगे, तभी हमारे मिलियंस ऑफ यंग माइंड्स उन्हें बेहतर और सुरक्षित बना पाएंगे। इसलिए आइए हम ये संकल्प लें कि एआई को ग्लोबल कॉमन गुड के रूप में विकसित किया जाएगा।
His call was echoed by UN Chief Antonio Guterres. Speaking at the summit, Guterres warned the gathering that the future of AI cannot be decided by a handful of countries or left to the whims of a few billionaires.
AI must belong to everyone. We must replace hype and fear with shared evidence and close knowledge gaps.
French President Emmanuel Macron told the summit that he is determined to ensure safe oversight of the fast-evolving technology.
To continue to shape the rules of the game and to do with our allies such as India, because we believe in core shared values: science, rule of law, global balance, efficient multilateralism, innovation for the benefit of all.
The AI Impact Summit is the fourth annual international gathering to discuss how to handle it, following previous meetings in Paris, Seoul and Britain. All right, to discuss this further, I'm now being joined by Adrian Mars, tech journalist and broadcaster. Adrian, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for making time for us. UN Secretary General Guterres has spoken against the concentration of AI in the hands of a few. We would have heard it in this report as well, and also spoken against the colonization of these technologies. Sam Altman said that a democratization of AI is necessary to ensure equitable growth as well. Is this even possible? Will any country or individual let go of technology that they consider their own strategic asset?
Well, to some extent, some has been released. Some of the breakthroughs in China, many of the AI models are open sourced already, but the cutting edge stuff isn't, and the chips are largely controlled by a handful of companies. There's sanctions on sending some of the most powerful, for example, to China, and they've been smuggled in huge quantities, and less powerful chips have been used quite effectively, so that hasn't really worked. One of the big restrictions is that we're moving away from the amount of data that these are trained on to improve them, because there's a limit to the amount of data. The internet only has so much, to adding more compute, and that is taking enormous amounts of electricity, and that's something the global south doesn't have in such great quantities. Now, whether this is all hype and whether actual sort of AI chatbot technology itself is going to make that much difference in its present form, I'm fairly skeptical. There's certainly areas where it is threatening industries like movie making, people who drive vehicles, possibly, but it's very difficult to tell when this will happen. And the big breakthrough we're waiting for is general intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence. which is a huge step up from what we have. And it's only when we get something close to that that we can really imagine robots walking around doing a lot of the tasks that you and I can do. At the moment, as anybody who has used an AI sort of replacement for customer services, it's mostly incredibly frustrating. And for the company, it's quite dangerous because the promises and the things they state are legally binding. So you know, even that most basic of task a chatbot at its best should be able to do, it isn't yet. But there are fields where it's working very well. I think there's a lot of hype already, and I don't think we should get caught up in it. But people are right.
Yeah, Adrian, the speed at which it is evolving, the speed at which AI is evolving, even if you look at the category of, or the quality of these deepfake videos coming out from just 2 years ago, where you could easily tell, okay, this is not seeming real, and now to now, where you're really having to look for or ask Grok whether is this real or is this AI, when you see the number of videos of these kinds making their way around X, or you know, you're looking for some kind of a giveaway telltale sign where it tells you that this is AI. So the way it is evolving, I don't think it's going to be a very long timeline before we really find a different way out of it.
We don't know. It's not even. So video and still image generation is evolving at a huge pace. Large language models, the sort of chatbot type stuff, less so. It's improving, and it is improving every few months, but it's still a long way off what a human being. You can't trust it, essentially, and we don't know when you will be able to trust it. Now, one of the big things that may define a superpower is when this thing starts to be used more and more in defence. We're already seeing more and more unmanned ground vehicles and drones.
Yeah, just allow me to come in there. Yeah, Adrian, just allow me to come in. The US used, I just want to connect it with what you mentioned earlier, you know, how a part of it is being shared, but not all of it. Like Claude, we understand it's made by Anthropic, but US used it, as per a report by Wall Street Journal, that they used it in the capture of Maduro. So it is being used in defense. How it's being used or how it's being weaponized, one doesn't know. And if a country, if it is figuring that out, it's you don't know the chances of whether they'll share it with the rest of the world to give that strategic advantage to everybody else. So how much of AI is going to decide who becomes the next superpower in this world?
Well, if in a rather sort of depressing worldview, it could come when you're not risking human beings in battle. One could imagine a dystopia when really it's who owns the most battle bots of assorted types rules the world. And that's a rather depressing view. At the other extreme, you can imagine a world where all resources are so plentiful because growing food, education, everything is provided by AI, and we need a new economic model, perhaps a minimum guaranteed income. So it's the robots that are taxed effectively and not the humans to share out resources. I think the answer is somewhere in between the two, but we just don't know at the moment. And the situation of global north versus global south continues. People in the global south are doing some of the cheap labour to power AI models, such as categorising data, often for very low rates, just as they're doing AI content moderation in often for low pay in some quite mentally tough conditions. And that hasn't really changed with AI. The world goes on doing that, sadly.
But yeah, of course, democratization is going to change that, and that is the call which is coming in from global north and global south. And of course, we all understand where this summit is taking place this year. It's not in the global north. So let's see where this one goes. Things are changing. There is a call for a more equitable access to AI technology. How much of that actually pans out, we'll need to wait and watch. That was Adrian Marsh joining me on the broadcast. Thanks so much, Adrian.
Pleasure.